700,000 human warships hung in space around Earth like a metal storm cloud. Fleet Admiral Kim Hyun stood on the bridge of the massive flagship New Busan's Vengeance and watched the greatest war fleet in galactic history prepare for departure. Each ship in the fleet was a masterpiece of human engineering and anger. They carried weapons designed specifically to destroy Valkyrie technology. Their armor could withstand anything the enemy could throw at them. Most importantly, their crews had trained for 2 years for this single mission, the complete destruction of the Valkyrie Empire. All fleets report ready, Captain Lee Jong announced from the communications station. 17 battle groups, each targeting a specific Valkyrie system. Kim Hyun studied the tactical display. Every Valkyrie world was marked in red. Intelligence teams had mapped every military base, every shipyard, every government center. Nothing would be left to chance. Signal all commanders, Kim Hyun ordered. Operation New Busan's Vengeance begins now. Across human space, the massive fleet split into 17 groups. Each group was larger than the entire military of most galactic civilizations. Each group had one target, a Valkyrie star system. The plan was simple and terrible. All 17 attacks would happen at the same time. The Valkyrie would have no chance to move reinforcements or coordinate their defense. In a single day, their entire empire would be under assault. Captain Lee Jong's battle group headed for the Valkyrie homeworld. This was the heart of their empire, defended by their strongest fleets and most advanced weapons. It was also where Supreme Overlord Theknor commanded the empire that had ordered New Busan's destruction. The journey through hyperspace took 6 hours. When Lee Jong's 40,000 ships emerged in the Valkyrie home system, they found exactly what intelligence had predicted. 300 Valkyrie warships waited in defensive formation around their homeworld. "This is Supreme Overlord Theknor of the Valkyrie Empire," came a transmission from the planet below. "You are trespassing in sovereign Valkyrie space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Captain Lee Jong activated the fleet's main communication array. His response was broadcast not just to the Valkyrie, but to every civilization in the galaxy. "This is Captain Lee Jong of the Human Defense Force. 2 years ago, you murdered 12 million civilians on New Busan. Today, we deliver justice." The Valkyrie fleet moved to attack. They had conquered dozens of worlds with those same ships. They had terrorized entire species into submission. Against defenseless colonies, they were unstoppable. Against 40,000 human warships, they lasted less than an hour. Human weapons had been perfected during 2 years of smaller battles. Every shot was precise. Every missile found its target. The technological gap that had been evident at Proxima Centauri had only grown wider as human engineers improved their designs. Valkyrie shields collapsed under concentrated human fire. Their armor, which had seemed so strong when bombarding New Busan, crumpled like paper under human plasma cannons. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. All Valkyrie orbital defenses destroyed, Lee Jong's tactical officer reported. "The planet is defenseless." But Lee Jong didn't immediately attack the planet. Instead, he opened a communication channel to the surface. "Supreme Overlord Theknor, this is Captain Lee Jong. You wanted to demonstrate Valkyrie power to the galaxy. Now I will demonstrate human justice." The bombardment that followed was carefully controlled. Human ships targeted only military installations, government buildings, and industrial centers. Unlike the Valkyrie attack on New Busan, civilian areas were avoided, but the message was clear. The Valkyrie homeworld's military was being systematically destroyed. Their shipyards became clouds of debris. Their command centers turned into smoking craters. In 6 hours, the heart of the Valkyrie Empire was reduced to a broken world. Similar scenes played out across all 17 Valkyrie systems. Human battle groups emerged from hyperspace, destroyed defending fleets with overwhelming firepower, then began dismantling every piece of Valkyrie military infrastructure. Some Valkyrie commanders tried to negotiate. They offered territory, resources, even their own surrender in exchange for mercy. The human response was always the same. You had 12 million chances to show mercy. Each one died on New Busan. A few Valkyrie fleets attempted to escape to neutral space. They were hunted down by human pursuit squadrons and destroyed. Others tried to hide in asteroid fields or nebulae. Advanced human sensors found them anyway. The Valkyrie military had numbered 50,000 ships at the start of the war. By the end of the first day of the final offensive, Fewer than 1,000 remained. Those survivors were scattered across the galaxy, leaderless and broken. Supreme Overlord Theknor was captured alive when human ground forces stormed his bunker on the Velkari homeworld. Colonel Han So-young personally took him into custody. Why? Theknor asked as human soldiers bound his hands. You have won. Your people are avenged. Why continue this destruction? Colonel Han So-young looked at the alien who had ordered the deaths of 12 million humans. Because you need to understand what extinction feels like. Theknor was brought before Fleet Admiral Kim Hyun aboard the flagship. The meeting was broadcast to every civilization in the galaxy. The supreme leader of the Velkari Empire, reduced to a prisoner in chains, faced the commander of humanity's avenging fleet. Your empire is finished, Kim Hyun told him. Your fleets are destroyed. Your worlds are under human control. Your people are scattered and defenseless. Theknor tried to maintain his dignity. What do you want? Territory? Resources, slaves? Name your price for our survival. We don't want your territory, Kim Hyun replied. We don't need your resources. And we certainly don't want slaves. Then what do you want? Kim Hyun's voice was cold as the space between stars. We want you to understand that there are consequences for murdering human children. We want every species in the galaxy to see what happens when someone tries to exterminate a human colony. The fate of the Velkari Empire was swift and absolute. Their military was completely destroyed. Their industrial capacity was dismantled. Their government was dissolved. The Velkari people themselves were relocated to agricultural worlds under human supervision. They were not enslaved or killed. They were simply reduced from galactic conquerors to farmers under human oversight. The empire that had terrorized dozens of species was erased from existence, but the most important message was delivered to the rest of the galaxy. Alien civilizations watched as humanity demonstrated what total war looked like. 700,000 warships had moved as one to destroy an entire empire. Some alien species were terrified. Others were impressed. All of them understood that humanity was now the dominant military power in the galaxy. The war was over. The Velkari Empire no longer existed. 12 million humans had been avenged. But Fleet Admiral Kim Hyun knew that this was not really an ending. It was a beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they could do when properly motivated. Now they had to decide what to do with that power. Signal all fleets, Kim Hyun ordered. Maintain positions around former Velkari worlds. Begin humanitarian operations for displaced populations, and prepare for new orders from Earth. The galaxy had seen human vengeance. Now it would see human justice. The species that had built 700,000 warships to avenge 12 million dead would now use that same power to protect those who could not protect themselves. The age of Velkari terror was over. The age of human guardianship had begun. Fleet Admiral Park Sai-woo watched his 50,000 ships move through hyperspace toward Velkari territory. This was humanity's first major offensive since New Busan's destruction. The fleet was massive by any standard, but Park Sai-woo knew it was just the first wave. Admiral, Captain Oh-min reported from the communication station. Our scout ships have reached the outer Velkari systems. They're sending back detailed maps of enemy positions. Park Si-woo studied the incoming data. The Velkari had dozens of military outposts scattered across their empire. Each outpost protected trade routes and mining operations. More importantly, each outpost was designed to terrorize local populations. What about enemy strength? Park Si-woo asked. Most outposts have between 10 and 50 ships, Oh-min replied. The largest base has about 200 vessels. Park Si-woo smiled grimly. His fleet alone could destroy every Velkari outpost simultaneously. But that wasn't the plan. Humanity wanted the Velkari to know they were coming. Fear was a weapon too. The first target was a Velkari supply station in the Kepler 438 system. The station protected a convoy route that supplied 3 Velkari colonies. Destroying it would hurt their economy and send a clear message. Commander Bae Na-ri led the advance force. Her Ghost Squadron specialized in stealth attacks. 20 ships approached the supply station while the main fleet waited in hyperspace. Target acquired, Bae Na-ri reported. 57 Velkari ships defending the station. They haven't detected us yet. Begin the attack, Park Si-woo ordered. Bae Na-ri's ships dropped out of stealth mode directly inside the Velkari formation. The aliens had no time to react. Human weapons tore through Velkari shields like they were made of paper. Advanced plasma cannons that had been designed specifically to fight Velkari technology proved devastatingly effective. The battle lasted 8 minutes. 57 Velkari ships were destroyed. 0 human casualties. But Bay Nari wasn't finished. Her ships moved to the supply station itself. Instead of destroying it immediately, she sent a message to the Velkari crew. "This is Commander Bay Nari of the Human Defense Force. You have 10 minutes to evacuate your station. After that, we will destroy it completely." The Velkari commander responded with threats and demands. Bay Nari cut the communication. Exactly. 10 minutes later, her ships reduced the supply station to scrap metal. 1 Velkari escape pod was allowed to leave. Inside was a recording of the entire battle and a simple message. "New Busan remembers. The humans are coming." Similar attacks happened across Velkari space over the next month. Human fleets appeared. Without warning, destroyed Velkari military assets and vanished back into hyperspace. Each attack was perfectly planned and executed. The Velkari began to realize they were facing something different from their usual victims. Captain Oh Min's reconnaissance teams mapped every Velkari system in detail. They studied Velkari ship movements, identified important leaders, and located critical infrastructure. Most importantly, they confirmed what intelligence had suspected. The Velkari Empire was built on fear and brutality. "They're not soldiers," Oh Min reported to Admiral Park Siwoo. "They're bullies. They've spent centuries crushing weak civilizations. They've never fought anyone who could fight back effectively." This became clear during the Battle of Proxima Centauri. A large Velkari patrol fleet was returning from raiding a neutral world when it encountered 15,000 human warships waiting for them. The Velkari fleet had 400 ships. They were veterans of dozens of campaigns against defenseless worlds. Their commander sent the usual demand for human surrender, expecting the typical response of fear and submission. Instead, Admiral Park Siwoo responded with tactical data. "Velkari fleet, you are outnumbered 37 to 1. Your weapons are inferior to ours. Your armor cannot stop our missiles. You have exactly 60 seconds to surrender before we destroy you completely." The Velkari commander laughed. "Foolish humans. We are the Velkari Empire. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. We do not surrender to insects." "Understood," Park Siwoo replied. "Open fire." The battle was not really a battle. It was a demonstration. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, their weapons striking with deadly accuracy. Velkari ships that had seemed invincible when attacking defenseless colonies were torn apart in minutes. Advanced human shields absorbed Velkari weapon fire with ease. Human missiles penetrated Velkari armor and destroyed ships with single hits. The technological gap was enormous. 43 minutes after it began, the Battle of Proxima Centauri was over. 400 Velkari ships destroyed. 0 human losses. But the most important part happened after the battle. Admiral Park Siwoo had the entire engagement recorded and broadcast to every known civilization in the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity was not just fighting back. They were winning easily. Ambassador Yoon Jae began contacting other alien species. Some civilizations had been conquered by the Velkari in the past. Others lived in fear of Velkari expansion. All of them watched the human war effort with amazement. "We offer you a choice," Ambassador Yoon Jae told each alien government. "Stand aside while we finish the Velkari Empire, or stand with them and share their fate. There will be no neutral ground in this war." Most alien species chose to stand aside. A few offered to help humanity. But some, fearing human power more than Velkari brutality, began secretly supporting the Velkari Empire. This didn't concern Admiral Park Siwoo. His fleet was just the first wave. Behind him, hundreds of thousands more warships were nearing completion. Earth shipyards worked around the clock. Every day brought humanity closer to their goal of 700,000 warships. The Velkari Empire began to mobilize their full military. They recalled fleets from distant campaigns. They activated reserve squadrons that had been stored for decades. They began building new ships as fast as their shipyards could manage. It wasn't enough. Human intelligence teams counted every Velkari ship and base. The entire Velkari military numbered about 50,000 vessels. Even if they doubled their fleet, they would still be outnumbered 14-1 when humanity's buildup was complete. Commander Bay Nari's Ghost Squadron began targeting Velkari leadership. They didn't assassinate Velkari commanders, but they made sure those commanders knew they could be killed any time humans chose. Bay Nari's ships would appear in orbit around Velkari command centers, scan the buildings thoroughly, then leave without firing a shot. The message was clear. Nowhere in Velkari space was safe from human reach. 2 years after New Busan's destruction, Admiral Choi Jin sent a message to Admiral Park Si-woo's fleet. Return to Earth. The final phase is ready to begin. Park Si-woo's 50,000 ships had spent 18 months devastating Velkari outposts and supply lines. They had proven that human technology was superior and human tactics were flawless. Now it was time for the real war. As his fleet prepared to return to Earth, Park Si-woo received reports from home. 700,000 warships were complete and ready for deployment. The largest military force in galactic history was prepared to move against the Velkari Empire. The Velkari had destroyed one human colony and killed 12 million people. They thought this would teach humanity to fear them. Instead, it had taught humanity something much more dangerous. It had taught them that some crimes required total punishment. The iron tide of human vengeance was ready to roll across Velkari space. Soon, the galaxy would see what happened when someone made the mistake of murdering human children. The quantum beacon's message reached Earth at 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Admiral Choi Jin was pulled from his sleep by an emergency call. As Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, he was used to late-night alerts. But when he saw the data from New Busan, his blood turned cold. 12 million people. Gone. In 6 hours. The images were horrible. Alien ships destroying everything they could see. Civilians running for their lives. Children crying as buildings burned around them. The Velkari had not just attacked a human colony. They had erased it completely. Admiral Choi Jin called President Kang Hai immediately. She answered on the first ring. "I've seen the reports," she said before he could speak. "How fast can you get to the emergency council chamber?" 10 minutes. I'll meet you there." The emergency council meeting lasted all night. Military leaders, government officials, and colony representatives watched the recordings from New Busan over and over. Each viewing made them angrier. General Ryu Tae, head of military intelligence, had studied the alien ships carefully. They call themselves the Velkari Empire. From what we can tell, they control at least 17 star systems. They've done this before to other species. How many other species? President Kang Hai asked. We don't know. But the computer found references to dozens of extinct civilizations in their broadcasts. Director Seo Kyung, leader of the Industrial War Council, spoke up. We have a choice to make. We can try to hide from them or we can fight. Admiral Choi Jin stood up. We can't hide. They know where Earth is now. They'll come for us eventually. Then we fight, President Kang Hai said. But how? They destroyed our defense fleet in an hour. Because we weren't ready for war, Choi Jin replied. We've been focused on peaceful exploration. We built cargo ships and research vessels, not warships. Can we build warships? The president asked. Director Seo Kyung smiled grimly. We've been designing them for 30 years. We just never built them because we hoped we'd never need them. She activated a holographic display. The room filled with images of massive human warships. They looked nothing like the peaceful vessels that explored the galaxy. These were built for one purpose, destroying enemies. The Titan-class battleship, Seo Kyung explained. We designed it after we found evidence of hostile aliens in deep space. Each one carries enough firepower to level a city. General Ryu Tai pulled up more designs. Destroyer-class ships for fast attacks, carrier-class ships for launching fighters, fortress-class ships for defending important locations. President Kang Hai studied the designs. How many can we build? With our current shipyards? Maybe 1,000 ships per year. That's not enough, Admiral Choi Jin said. The Velkari have hundreds of those giant ships. 1,000 won't be enough to stop them. Director Seo Kyung's smile grew wider. Who said anything about using our current shipyards? We're going to build new ones. Lots of them. Over the next week, President Kang Hai held meetings with every human colony. The quantum beacon messages from New Busan had reached them all. Every colonist had seen the images of dead families. Every human in the galaxy was angry. The response was immediate and total. Mining colonies increased their output by 500%. Industrial worlds converted all their factories to military production. Research stations began developing new weapons and armor. Most importantly, Earth began building the largest shipyards in galactic history. Massive construction platforms appeared in orbit around every planet and moon. Each platform could build dozens of warships at the same time. President Kang Hai addressed all of humanity in a broadcast that would be remembered forever. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, she began. 3 days ago, 12 million of our people were murdered by the Velkari Empire. They were killed not because they fought, but because they were human. The Velkari see us as insects to be crushed. Her voice grew harder. They have shown us what they think of human life. Now we will show them what humans think of extinction. The president outlined humanity's response. Every available resource would be dedicated to building a war fleet. Not hundreds of ships, not thousands, hundreds of thousands. We will build 700,000 warships, she announced. We will arm them with the most advanced weapons humanity can create. And we will use them to ensure that the Velkari Empire never threatens another innocent life. The broadcast ended with a simple promise. New Busan will be avenged. Admiral Choi Jin took control of the military buildup. His staff worked 24 hours a day, coordinating construction across 50 star systems. Every day, new shipyards came online. Every day, more warships took shape in the orbital factories. The first ships were ready within 3 months. They were sleek, deadly, and covered in armor that could stop Velkari weapons. Each ship carried crews that had trained for nothing but combat. But Admiral Choi Jin knew that speed wasn't enough. The Velkari had to understand that humanity was different from their previous victims. They had to learn that humans didn't just fight back. They fought until their enemies were completely destroyed. General Ryu Tae's intelligence teams worked to learn everything about the Velkari Empire. They studied the recordings from New Busan frame by frame. They analyzed Velkari ship designs and weapon systems. Most importantly, they mapped every Velkari colony and military base. 17 star systems, General Ryu Tae reported. About 8 billion Velkari total. Their military is spread across dozens of worlds. Good, Admiral Choi Jin said. When we're ready, we'll hit all of them at the same time. Director Seo Kyung's industrial teams worked miracles. Asteroids were hollowed out and turned into shipyards. Entire moons became weapons factories. The asteroid belt around Earth buzzed with construction robots building humanity's war machine. Other alien species began to take notice. Scout ships from peaceful civilizations watched the human construction effort with growing amazement and fear. Some aliens had fought the Velkari before and lost. They couldn't believe that humans were planning such a massive response. A few alien governments sent messages to Earth, offering to help fight the Velkari. President Kang Hai's response was polite but firm. Thank you, but this is humanity's war. We will finish what the Velkari started. 6 months after New Busan's destruction, the first major fleet was ready. 50,000 warships assembled in Earth's orbit. They were beautiful and terrifying. Each ship was 3 times larger than the vessels that had defended New Busan. Their weapons could punch through Velkari armor like paper. Admiral Choi Jin stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching his fleet prepare for departure. These ships would begin the war by attacking Velkari outposts and supply lines. They would let the enemy know that humanity was coming, but this was just the beginning. Across human space, hundreds of thousands more ships were under construction. Assembly lines worked day and night. Crews trained for the battles ahead. Scientists developed new weapons designed specifically to kill Velkari. The alien empire that had destroyed New Busan thought they had crushed a weak species. They had no idea what was coming for them. Humanity had awakened from its peaceful dreams. Now it was time for the Velkari to learn what nightmares looked like. Admiral Choi Jin gave the order. 50,000 warships jumped into hyperspace, heading for the outer edges of Velkari territory. The war for New Busan's revenge had begun. Behind them, hundreds of thousands more ships continued taking shape in the orbital shipyards. Humanity's answer to the Velkari Empire was simple and terrible: total war. 5 years after the destruction of New Busan, Governor Park Yoon stood before a massive memorial made of black stone. The names of 12 million colonists were carved into its surface, each one perfectly preserved in humanity's memory. Behind her, the rebuilt New Busan colony stretched across green valleys and under blue skies. "Today we remember," she said to the crowd gathered for the anniversary ceremony. "We remember 12 million people who died simply because they were human. We remember their sacrifice, and we remember the lesson it taught us." The crowd included humans from dozens of worlds, but also representatives from 57 alien species. They had come to pay their respects and to witness humanity's promise for the future. Dr. Lim Tae-hyun walked through the archives beneath the memorial. His research teams had spent years studying captured Valkyrie records. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. The Valkyrie had destroyed hundreds of civilizations over thousands of years. Entire species had been wiped out for the crime of being different. The Regalians, he read from one report. Population 43 million. Crime: refusing to surrender their art collections to Valkyrie museums. Punishment: complete extinction. Another file described the Tenthari. Population 2 billion. Crime: developing weapons that could damage Valkyrie ships. Punishment: their homeworld was cracked in half by orbital bombardment. The list went on and on. Species after species destroyed for minor offenses or no reason at all. The Valkyrie had been the galaxy's apex predator for millennia, until they made the mistake of attacking humans. Admiral John Mi-young commanded the Galactic Patrol Fleet. From her flagship in orbit around New Busan, 100,000 human warships were permanently stationed throughout the galaxy, ready to respond to any threat against civilian populations. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a distress call from the Dalarian Republic. They say the Hectari Imperium is threatening to invade their border worlds." John Mi-young studied the tactical display. The Hectari had been testing boundaries since the Valkyrie Empire's destruction. They were another militaristic species that had learned to respect human power, but hadn't learned to respect human principles. "How long since the ultimatum was delivered?" she asked. 18 hours. "The Hectari fleet is moving toward Dalarian space. Signal the 3rd Patrol Squadron. They are to intercept the Hectari fleet and deliver our standard message." The standard message was simple. Any attack on civilian populations would be met with total human response. The galaxy had seen what that meant when it happened to the Valkyrie. 6 hours later, the 3rd Patrol Squadron's 5,000 ships emerged from hyperspace directly in front of the advancing Hectari fleet. The Hectari admiral, who commanded 800 vessels, was contacted immediately. "This is Admiral Park Sung-ho of the Human Galactic Patrol. You are approaching Dalarian space with hostile intent. Turn back now or face the consequences." The Hectari admiral was young and arrogant. He had not been present during the Valkyrie War. "This is Hectari space, human. We go where we choose. Your patrol ships cannot stop the might of the Hectari Imperium." "You are correct," Admiral Park Sung-ho replied. "This patrol squadron alone could not stop your entire Imperium. But it could certainly stop your fleet. And if we have to stop your fleet, the rest of the human defense force will stop your Imperium." The Hectari admiral had studied the records of the Valkyrie War. He knew that humanity had destroyed a 500-year-old empire in a single day. His 800 ships would not even slow down a human response. "We are reconsidering our territorial claims," he said finally. "Wise decision. Safe travels." The Hectari fleet turned around and headed home. Another potential war had been prevented by the simple presence of human power. Ambassador Song Yu-jin worked from her office on Earth, coordinating humanity's diplomatic efforts across the galaxy. The New Busan Accords had been signed by 57 alien civilizations. The treaty was simple. Any attack on civilian populations by any signatory would be considered an act of war against all signatories. In practice, this meant that any species that targeted civilians would face humanity's full military might. The 700,000 warships that had destroyed the Valkyrie Empire remained active and ready. "Ambassador," her aide reported, "the Carathian Empire is requesting membership in the Accords." Song Yu-jin smiled. The Carathians had been one of the species that secretly supported the Valkyrie during the war. Now they wanted protection under human guarantee. "Schedule a meeting," she said, "but make it clear that membership requires full compliance with human standards for the treatment of civilian populations." Those standards were strict. No targeting of non-combatants, No destruction of cultural sites. No use of biological or chemical weapons. No enslaving of conquered populations. Species that joined the Accords agreed to follow these rules and to help enforce them against those who didn't. The result was the most peaceful period in galactic history. Wars still happened, but they were limited conflicts between military forces. The age of species-wide extinction was over. Not everyone was happy with the new order. Some species resented human dominance. Others chafed under restrictions on their traditional methods of warfare. A few tried to challenge human authority directly. The Zephyrian Confederation made that mistake 3 years after the Valkyrie War. They attacked a human research station, killing 47 scientists. The Zephyrians thought that such a small loss of life wouldn't trigger a major human response. They were wrong. 20,000 human warships appeared in Zephyrian space within days. The Confederation's fleet was destroyed in hours. Their government was dissolved. Their military was disbanded. Like the Valkyrie before them, the Zephyrians learned that there was no such thing as an acceptable level of human casualties. Most species learned to work within the new system. They discovered that human protection came with benefits as well as restrictions. Trade increased across the galaxy, as species no longer had to worry about their merchant fleets being destroyed by raiders. Scientific cooperation flourished as researchers could work without fear of their discoveries being stolen by aggressive neighbors. Governor Park Yoon finished her speech at the memorial ceremony. New Busan fell so that no world would ever fall again. Our people died so that no species would face extinction. Their sacrifice made humanity not just survivors but guardians of all who cannot guard themselves. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence for the 12 million dead. Then the crowd dispersed, returning to their lives in a galaxy where such massacres were no longer possible. In orbit above them, the patrol fleets maintained their eternal watch. Human sensors monitored every star system for signs of aggression against civilian populations. Human ships stood ready to respond instantly to any threat. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson from New Busan's destruction. Some lines could never be crossed. Some crimes demanded absolute justice, and humanity was prepared to deliver that justice with overwhelming force whenever necessary. In the research archives, Dr. Lim Tai-hyun closed the last file on Valkyrie atrocities. Hundreds of extinct species had finally been avenged. Their deaths had meaning because humanity had ensured such genocide would never happen again. The age of fear was over. The age of protection had begun, and at the center of it all stood a simple black memorial with 12 million names, reminding the galaxy of the price of threatening human life. New Busan had been rebuilt, but it would never be forgotten. Neither would the lesson it taught. Humanity would go to any length to protect innocent life, even if that meant building 700,000 warships and destroying an entire empire. The memorial's inscription said it all. They died so that others might live in peace. And in the space around them, 100,000 human warships made sure that promise was kept. The morning sun rose over New Busan just like it had for the past 50 years. Governor Han Woo stood on his office balcony, watching the busy streets below. Farmers drove their trucks loaded with fresh crops toward the spaceport. Children ran to school while their parents headed to the mines and factories. Everything looked normal and peaceful. New Busan was humanity's pride. 12 million people called this planet home. They had worked hard to turn the rocky world into something beautiful. Green fields stretched across valleys that used to be empty. Cities grew where nothing had lived before. The people were proud of what they had built. Captain Kim Yuna walked into the governor's office. She looked worried. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from our long-range sensors. Something big is coming toward our system." Han Woo turned from the window. "How big?" "Very big. Maybe 20 ships. They're not responding to our signals." The governor frowned. New Busan rarely had visitors. Most ships announced themselves long before they arrived. "Keep trying to contact them. Maybe their radio is broken." Dr. Park Day rushed into the room. His face was pale. "Governor, you need to see this. Our deep space telescope caught images of those ships. They're not human." The three of them hurried to the communications center. On the main screen, they saw massive black ships shaped like daggers. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Strange symbols covered their hulls. "I've never seen anything like them," Park Day whispered. Young Lee Saul sat at the communications desk. She had been trying to contact the strange ships for an hour. "Sir, they're not answering any of our calls. They're just getting closer." Kim Yuna checked her watch. "At their current speed, they'll reach our outer defense stations in 6 hours. Han Wu made a decision. "Send a message to all our defense ships. Tell them to take positions around the planet. Maybe we can talk to these aliens when they arrive." The hours passed slowly. Everyone on New Busan watched the sky. Parents called their children home from school. Workers left their jobs early. The whole planet felt the tension. Captain Kim Yuna commanded 12 small warships. They were built to fight space pirates, not giant alien vessels. But she positioned them between the planet and the approaching fleet. If these aliens wanted to hurt New Busan, they would have to go through her first. The alien ships finally appeared in the sky above New Busan. They were even more frightening up close. Dark metal reflected no light. Weapons that looked like giant spears pointed down toward the planet. Lee Sol tried one more time to contact them. "Unknown ships, this is New Busan Colony. Please respond. We want to talk." The answer came in the form of bright red beams. The alien weapons fired at Kim Yuna's ships. The small human vessels tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the alien hulls. One by one, the human ships exploded in balls of fire. Captain Kim Yuna's ship was the last to die. She sent a final message to the planet below. "They're not here to talk. They're here to kill. Protect the civilians." Han Wu watched the space battle from his office. All 12 ships were gone. 12 crews. Hundreds of good people, dead in less than an hour. "Governor," Lee Sol called out, "I'm getting signals from the alien ships. They're broadcasting something." The main screen filled with the image of a tall gray alien. Its face looked like a skull with black eyes. When it spoke, the computer translated its words. "Humans of this world, you are weak. Your ships are toys. Your people will serve us or die. Surrender now." Han Wu stepped forward. "This is Governor Han Wu of New Busan Colony. We are peaceful people. We don't want to fight. What do you want from us?" The alien's black eyes stared at him. "We are the Velkari Empire. We take what we want. Your planet will feed our empire. Your people will work in our mines until they die. Those who resist will be killed." "We can negotiate," Han Wu said desperately. "We have resources, technology, we can trade." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "We do not trade with insects. You have 1 hour to surrender. Then we will demonstrate what happens to those who resist the Velkari." The screen went dark. Han Wu looked around the room. Everyone was staring at him. 12 million people depended on his next decision. He thought about his wife and children. He thought about all the families on New Busan. "Sir," Lee Sol said quietly, "we have the quantum beacon." The quantum beacon was New Busan's deepest secret. It was a communication device that could send messages instantly across the galaxy. Only the governor knew about it. It was supposed to be used only in the worst emergency. Han Wu realized this was that emergency. "Activate it," he ordered. "Send everything to Earth. These aliens, their ships, their weapons. Everything we've recorded." Lee Sol's fingers flew over her keyboard. "It will take a few minutes to charge up." Through the windows, they could see the alien ships moving into position above the major cities. Red beams began to fall from the sky like deadly rain. Buildings exploded. People ran screaming through the streets. "They're not waiting an hour," Park Day said. The beacon was almost ready. Lee Sol kept typing, adding every piece of data they had about the Velkari. Their ship designs, their weapons, their language. Most importantly, she included video of what was happening to the civilians. The aliens were not just destroying military targets. They were killing everyone. Children, elderly people, families trying to hide. The Velkari seemed to enjoy the slaughter. "Beacon is ready," Lee Sol announced. "Send it," Han Wu ordered. "Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them the Velkari think humans are insects. Tell them we fought as hard as we could." The quantum beacon fired. In one instant, all of New Busan's final data shot across space toward Earth. The message would arrive in minutes instead of years. Red beams hit the government building. The walls began to crack. Smoke filled the air. Han Wu looked at his staff. Good people who had served the colony faithfully. "It's been an honor," he told them. Lee Sol kept working even as the building shook. She sent one final message. "This is New Busan. We are all going to die. But Earth will know what you did to us. Earth will remember." The red beam hit the communications center directly. Everything went white. Across the planet, the last humans of New Busan died under alien fire. 12 million people were gone in 6 hours. The Velkari had made their point about human weakness, but they had also made a mistake. The quantum beacon had worked. Earth had received everything. Every image of dead children, every recording of Velkari laughter as they killed surrendering civilians. The Velkari thought they had crushed an insect. Instead, they had awakened something much more dangerous. They had shown humanity what aliens thought of human life. Soon, humanity would show them what humans thought of extinction.